can be transmitted. And I don't know, it's draconian. They were, you know, people have a little chicken house and the authorities are going to come through and kill all the chickens and shut it down, you know, and tell them, well, if you can't build an indoor space, all chickens have to be indoors, then you can't have chickens, so we're going to kill them all. And that's what they wanted to do here for a while in the United States. They wanted to just go and get all these people like me and kill all the chickens because they're outside. My goodness, a bird. Birds come in and out of my hen house. I wish they didn't because they eat all the expensive feed. I feed a bunch of grackles and sparrows, probably close to $50 a month on grackle feed. They eat the best. But the chickens tolerate them. They don't. I wish they'd run them off, but they just kind of tolerate them. And there's really no way to keep them out unless you use that kind of hardware cloth right there and never have your gate open into a run, because they'll just come right in the open door. So you can't put bird netting around because you got this open door. So you don't want to put your chickens in jail all the time. You want them to have some freedom, but then there's the birds. So it's just, you have to choose your poison on that. But no, I don't worry about bird flu or any of that stuff. I've really never had a disease that ran through my chickens, ever. Knock on wood. Never know when something weird will happen, but I've never had a disease. Now, certainly I've had chickens die. There's probably 300 chickens buried in this area. Y'all are sitting on hallowed ground. You know, even on a farm, you run out of places to bury them. I want it to be in soft dirt. This is kind of packed here, but I've dug them when the soil is so dry that you're just having to, but I want to give them a Christian burial. You know, I mean, and always thank them for their service. You know, I love them. But I bury them. But generally when a chicken gets sick or gets unwell, they just start kind of looking mopey. And they'll just kind of sit down and just not eat much. And you can bring them water and food, and they may try to do it to make you happy. But really, they're on their way out. You never know what it is. It's something, maybe it's heart failure, or it's diabetes maybe, or who knows. And then a couple of days, you go out, and they're gone. Now, everybody says chickens are such, what do you call it, that you eat your own, like Donner's pie. Oh, cannibals, thank you. Yeah, I've never really had a chicken eat another chicken. I mean, now, if you throw them some fried chicken, they're going to eat that with great relish, but I've never had that happen. I think cannibalism is found in the concentration camps where they are so berserk, and that's why they're cutting their beaks off, because they know that they are so berserk, they're totally deranged, they're breathing this horrible air all the time, they're all sick, and so they get mad at their cage mate, who's all of them, they can't even do anything. So that's when you get the cannibalism, just out of craziness. But in a healthy flock, no cannibalism. Now, they will eat their own eggs. If they're cracked, they'll eat them. They can smell it. They know that egg is the perfect food, and they know that egg should be eaten raw for perfect health. So, and it's a way of cleaning up the nest. If there's an egg that's broken, like it falls down on another egg and it cracks, then there's certain hens that have that aptitude that they're going to go after and eat that egg. And then, of course, everybody wants it. And sometimes I've found an egg that's cracked, and I just throw it out, and then there's a big melee to get it. You know, it's very exciting. So, I mean, they know it's good, but they won't touch it if it's not cracked. They'll walk right by any egg lying on the ground or whatever for years if it's not cracked. But, I did have one hen one time we called her the driller, because she would just go up in the nest box and just drill them. That's what her deal was. She was deranged, of course. But I couldn't send her to therapy, so I just had to get the eggs fast before the driller came. I mean, when you're trying to sell eggs, they'll ruin you, People come up and say, well, you're out of eggs already? I said, well, the driller got them. It's hard to explain, So, and if you were expecting Sunday breakfast and, the driller got your egg, well, you'd be unhappy too. So there's no break in the driller from doing it unless you just put, for maybe a few weeks, just ceramic eggs in there. And then maybe she'll get, her beak will get kind of blunted or something. Okay, any other questions? What should we talk about next? Worms? Oh, worms, those damn worms. Yes, of course, chickens love worms. They'll eat any worm except those fuzzy caterpillar-looking worms. They won't eat I've never seen them eat a hornworm. They won't eat those big threatening worms, but they love earthworms. and they love any other kind of little microscopic worm. And this is how I've lost 2 of my favorite hens, and I realize it's my fault. I mean, they died because of freedom, because they had freedom, because they were out every day, all day long, and they were in the mulch, and they were everywhere. And these worms, especially this worm called the gape worm, is one that causes the chicken to suddenly start going like that all the time. That was attractive, wasn't it? They just go like that, and that's called gaping. You know, if you're surprised or shocked by something, you gape. Your mouth gapes open in surprise. That's what they do. And then my favorite hen that would take care of all the babies, her name was Mrs. Bentley, and she had a bent tail. She was a golden sex link, and she had a bent tail from birth, so we called her Mrs. Bentley. And she took care of she hatched all the chicks. Or didn't hatch them, she adopted chicks from Callahan's. And she started doing that gape stuff, and I kept looking, you know, but it's real fast, just like that. So you have to look real fast. I needed a camera so I could slow it down. But I saw all these worms just piled up in the back of her throat. And I didn't know anything to do about it. You know, what do you do? Take her to the vet, spend $600? You know, that's not going to happen. So it took her about a month to die. It was pitiful. It was pitiful. Break your heart. And then in 2006, 8 or sometime, Aunt Penny got the same thing. Aunt Penny was studying with Mrs. Bentley, and so Aunt Penny was now the one around the farm working with us every day, and Tootie is her understudy, and she got it. And so then I called Carla Allen, who's kind of a nurse. She's with the other chicken list, and she came over and gave her ivermectin, which is a big antibiotic, or wormicide thing or something. I forget now what it was, and injected it. Aunt Penny thought that was the most horrible thing in the world, of course. And so we injected her with that stuff, but nothing changed. She still died. So in my opinion, when a chicken gets sick, 99% of the time she's going to die, no matter what it is, whether it's worms or whatever. She's going to die. So the worm, I don't know. They never say. I think it must be little. And what it does is just sets up and evidently it's probably eggs that they're getting, because there's going to be a whole bunch of them, and they go all through the body. They go all through the body and they attach on, so the chicken can never choke them out or cough them up or anything. Now the tapeworm, if a chicken has that white spaghetti-looking worm, that'll come out of them in the poop and stuff. And I had that one time, a long time ago, back in about 85. I came in there, and they're right under where they'd been sleeping. There was this pile of spaghetti. I didn't feed them that. That was before the pasta revolution, where everybody ate pasta. That was way before that, and then you ate spaghetti. But it looked like white spaghetti. So I went to Callahan's, and I said, my chickens ejected the spaghetti worms. And they said, okay, well, you need this wormicide. And so I put it in their water, and that was the end of that. They never had any more worms. So that was my big worm experience there. But I mean, you have to give them chemicals when it's like that. Otherwise, I mean, I'm pretty much whatever happens to them happens to them. You know, I give them space. I give them the best food I can give them. I harvest in the winter. I harvest greens for them. It's really pitiful. Wheelbarrow loads of the lower broccoli leaves and cauliflower leaves. I harvest these gigantic mounds. And you see all those stems in there. That's just from yesterday. So, I mean, you do the best for them, and then it's just, you know, they're going to have a shorter life than you are, probably. So, that's it. Yes. Yeah, she's saying the chicks, when she's read that when you get baby chicks, they're inoculated, or should be. Well, you know, I just read in the paper today that you should take your dog or your cat to the vet every 6 months for a clean checkup. Gosh, well, that wouldn't happen on my watch. I mean, that's expensive, but you know, of course they're pushing their business. But you know, the thing about vaccines and inoculations and all this preventive stuff, all these chemicals to inject in them. I mean, they're proving a lot on vaccines that are really not really great for people, because you're putting all these chemicals in your body, and then it may cause something, side effects, you know, there's side effects to everything. So, I don't know that I've ever gotten a chick that's been inoculated. That would probably cost a lot more.